evening, folks, and welcome back to our page. It's a stormy by day, and I've got Mike Powell and Paul Owen here again with me tonight. We had an awful lot of problems here trying to get my microphone working. Tried a bunch of internal mics and external mics, and nothing seemed to work. But we are live at the moment. And, I apologize for not being able to get to you earlier tonight. Anyway, here we are now, and we've got a little bit of clear sky, so we're going to try a couple of objects here tonight. First of all, Mike Powell is from the St. John Astronomy Club and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. And Mike is in St. John here with me. And Paul Owen is also a RASC member in Brunswick, and also a member of the St. John Astronomy Club. And Paul is at his home in Hampton, Brunswick. So Paul's going to bring up another image here shortly, but at the moment, looks like you got something passing through your field of view there, Mike.
I have an airplane going over.
Airplane going through.
Or UFO, whichever you like.
So I'm going to be watching comments, hopefully on the channel here, as well as trying to keep the broadcast running at the same time. So we'll watch for comments coming in. But anyway, right now what we're doing is we're looking at through Mike's observatory. Mike, can you show a picture again of the setup there?
This one.
There you go. So
I'll just live screen it.
Just a bit of explanation on what we're looking at there.
Well, that's my observatory with the roof open, so I'm not taking a shot at the shingles. One of my Christmas presents hanging in the background there. It's a string of lights of the solar system, including Pluto. I was quite pleased about that. I'm running a 60 millimeter William Optic APO, actually a 66 millimeter William Optic APO with a T3 Canon DSLR camera. That's sitting on top of an 80 millimeter William Optic APO that I'm using for a guide scope. And we're shooting live using the DSLR on SharpCap software that someone finally developed some drivers for in order to use DSLR cameras with SharpCap and LiveStack. So that's the inside. There was some leaves and stuff blowing around in there earlier. I was wondering if I could get a raccoon over the roof or not, but
okay, so that's
anybody goes in there, I'll get them.
nice.
I'll minimize that, and I'll just move it out of the way. And there's a shot looking straight up, and that's it's called a T7 camera that I purchased on eBay. It's similar to the ZWO 120 cameras that are out there. And it gives me about a 90 to 110 degree field of view of the night sky, or whichever way my scope is pointing. And right now, if you see my my arrow, I can point to Cassiopeia, the W here.
Right.
And then down from it, it's kind of upside down. This is leads into Perseus here, going this way. And then we're going to be looking at the double cluster, which is right in between the two, right in here. Now, the seeing and transparency tonight aren't the greatest, even though the clouds finally moved away. So this little camera's not picking it up. But if I minimize that screen, again, here's Cassiopeia on my software that's actually driving the scope. Here's Perseid, Perseid, and then Perseus, and then we're looking right in here in the double cluster. I'll minimize that one and bring up the live stack. Come on, open. Here we go. And there we are. That so far is 63 frames, and there's 15-second shots. So there's the double cluster in Perseus. It's good. You can see it from mid to far north latitudes. The double cluster is a circumpolar cluster. It's always above the horizon every night somewhere. If you live a little further south, it's still up in the northern hemisphere, and you should be able to see it every night through the autumn and the winter in the southern hemisphere. But where we are up in the north, you can see it all year round. The double cluster is high in the sky when the Big Dipper is low, and vice versa. So if you see the Big Dipper high in the sky, then the double cluster will be down low, and vice versa. It's the highest in the northern sky during the winter months, which is right now. It's pretty much always visible, except in late spring and summer. Considered to be a deep sky jewel. It is visible with the unaided eye in dark skies, and if you get beautiful view in binoculars, you can get the whole thing in. In most telescopes, you can't get the whole cluster or both clusters together. You can get one or the other or a little bit of both. It's 7,500 light years distant, and it's separated by a few hundred light years. It's amazing that we can see these stars across a great span of space. Astronomers tell us that the double cluster lies within Perseus arm of the Milky Way galaxy. However, our solar system resides in the inner part of the Orion arm. Therefore, when we look at the double cluster, we're looking through our local arm all the way until the next spiral arm outward on the from the galaxy center. So some of the stars are in the way on the way to the double cluster. There's two clusters making up the double cluster. One is NGC 869, and the other is NGC 884. And then basically a bottom line in the autumn or the winter months, scanning between Cassiopeia and Perseus is a magnificent double cluster. They're young, hot stars, hot supergiants, many thousand times the luminosity of our sun. So that's a little blurb that I got offline on it.
Nice. Yeah, so I guess a little blurb I was reading here too. The clusters both lie at approximate distance of 7,600 light years from Earth, and they're about 12.8 million years old. And they are easily visible even without binoculars, right? So
Yeah.
when you're peering off the Cassiopeia and looking at Perseus, we look just between the two, you'll see this little hazy patch sitting. Actually, but they're beautiful to binoculars too.
And like I said, there's the one, and there's the other. Did you say there are little cowboys in here somewhere?
Yeah, the cowboy's in there somewhere. He's.
I think that's him right in the circle area here.
Might be him right there. Yeah.
If I can just zoom in a touch.
You might be able to get him.
This little guy. There's the legs coming down and a little hat and the face.
Yeah, so he's got a cowboy hat. Zoom in a little more. You can. Maybe even get him more.
It might get a little blurry here.
Okay.
We'll take a look.
There he is.
There he is.
So yeah, let's lose our imagination a little bit. So we've got those few stars there at the top. That's supposed to be his cowboy hat, and the little bright star in the center is the Cyclops, I guess. So he's got one bright eyeball. And then he has his two arms stretched out either side, and that's him reaching down to his holsters to shoot the gun off. So that's the cowboy.
Yes, astronomy is imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right, go back to a live field.
And, good evening, Robert, and everybody on here. Hello, everybody. Apologize for the trouble earlier to get things up and running, but I'm glad we finally did get things running here. So we're looking at the double cluster live right now. And, of course, this is the stacked image. It is easy to find, as Mike said, because it lies just east of the familiar W shape there of the Cassiopeia constellation. The cluster lies near the radiant of the Perseid meteor shower. So when we get the Perseid meteors around in August, that's about the direction that they appear to be coming from. Peak about mid-August. And it was actually catalogued back in 130 BC by Greek astronomer Hipparchus. The clusters themselves are only separated by a few hundred light years. They contain stars much younger and hotter than our sun. In addition to being physically close together, the clusters' ages, based on their individual stars, are similar evidence that both clusters were likely a product of the same star forming region. So when we're looking up into this area, we're looking up at the Perseus area. As our galaxy rotates, of course, we're rotating at different speeds, just as if the planets of the solar system were rotating around the sun at different speeds. the stars all move around the galaxy at different speeds, especially. So the other ones would move around at different speeds, and that causes the stars to kind of bunch up together. It brings these huge clouds of dust and gas closer together, which causes these large star-forming regions inside the galaxies themselves. That's what we're looking at here. Although they were known to the ancient sky watchers, their true nature really wasn't discovered until the 18th century when William Herschel studied the telescope. Quite a few clusters are actually closer to these ones, but not many of them are brighter. That's because both members of the double cluster appear to be less than 50 million years old. At such a young age, they still contain some heavy stars, which burn especially hot and bright. Some such stars burn up very quickly, leaving their parent clusters with less massive stars that shine off less brightly. So the famous double cluster. Again, very easy to pick up in a small telescope, in binoculars. Easily naked eye view from a dark sky site from Mount Carlton actually is superior. You can't miss it. When you look in that direction, it stands right out at your pops right at you. But then, of course, in a place like that, your eyes are getting dark adapted. So the more your eyes can dark adapt, the larger your pupils are going to get, and the more light they're going to let in. Easier to see the thing optically.
It is an incredible sight from Mount Carlton. No question about that.
And again, you want to pick up you want to have a wide field telescope, instead of binoculars. So you take a look around here.
Now it's
maybe Mike, you could explain a little bit how we're catching that image. For those
well, like I said, I wanted to go to a wide chip format without having to buy a special astro imaging camera because they're quite expensive. And as a result, I went looking online and found out that my DSLR camera chip is just what I was looking for. And it wasn't more than a month ago I came across someone who invented or created the drivers in order to run DSLR camera on this SharpCap software, which will allow you to do the live stacking. And so hooking that up to a 66 millimeter telescope that's only got a 400 millimeter focal length, it gives me a large piece of the sky, probably the same view I would get through a pair of 80 by 20 binoculars. And it's right up my alley. I can, you can see the double cluster itself and all the space around it and all the stars around it. It really makes it pop out. And that's what it looks like when you look at it with a pair of binoculars. And if you look at it with a telescope, you're just going to get usually one or the other cluster or a little bit of both. But you don't normally see that much sky with it unless you're using a pair of binoculars. And right now I'm stacking pictures every 15 seconds. And this is 86 frames stacked on top of each other. And they're coming out pretty pinpoint in the center. You get a little bit of blurring off to the sides, but that's because I don't have a field flattener on the scope.
Of course, in this area of the sky, too, people mention the fact that the winter sky seems to be a lot crisper, a lot clearer, and it is true, it is. And simply because here we are in the winter sky, and we're turned away from the center of the Milky Way, where that several billion stars sits in the center there, like the New York City of the galaxy, basically. And now we're turned away from that, and we're looking out into deep space. So as we look out into deep space, the sky is really black there. And so that makes the stars kind of stand out a lot more. And these stars here are brighter, much brighter, because they're closer to us than the stars in the summertime sky. In the summertime sky, when we're looking into Sagittarius, we're looking about 26,000 light years from here into the center of the Milky Way. And our southern sky will be filled with that glow and with all the beauty that's in Sagittarius. But again, in the wintertime sky, we're turned around now to look out at this area, and we do have like a winter Milky Way that passes right from Perseus, I guess down on the border there, right up through Cassiopeia and all the way down the other side again. It's not quite as apparent, but it does stand out and make the stars appear much crisper and brighter. And because these stars, again, are closer to us, they do appear brighter as well. So it's the high contrast between the blackness of space and the stars themselves that gives these beautiful inner views like this one.
As well, Chris, if I may, I'll just pull this over. This is back to looking at the observatory again. And if you look, my scope is almost pointed directly straight up. So we're looking through a lot less horizon or moisture than you would be if you were looking low at the object lower on the horizon. It doesn't get much clearer than pointing virtually straight up than that.
Okay. I guess they're saying there might be some issue with my mic again here, so just checking that. Maybe I'll get Paul, how are you making out there?
I know that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to. I'm getting on a target, but the trouble is I'm getting a lot of posturizing between the signal from the observatory into the house, so it's not a real clear signal.
Right.
So, so I'm looking at maybe showing an image of something within the Heart Nebula itself, and of course, the Heart Nebula is very, very close to Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just going to get myself set up for that.
You let me know when you're ready, Paul, and I'll unshare my screen, and you can go ahead and share yours.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they're
Yeah.
saying they can barely hear me, so I'm trying to find out how I'm going to turn up my audio here again. Just one second.
You just got to speak with a louder voice.
I guess so. Trying
That
to
commanding
keep the
voice.
voices positive. System sounds, we'll turn them up and we'll turn up the OBS one. Up. Make sure the specs turned up. See how that is. Hopefully that improves things. Take it back out. People can let me know if it's any better or not. Anyway, we'll carry on. Paul, do you want to share your screen now, or?
Yeah, just give me one more second there.
Your seconds seem longer than my seconds for some reason.
Oh my goodness!
Must be a drummer's thing.
I think it is.
Gotta be.
I think it is. Where is that at? Right there. That going? Okay, I got that. I can put that over. And I just got to get one more thing, and then I'll be ready. Okay, good. So let's see if I can share my screen here with you folks.
All right. I'll stop sharing first.
Okay.
Here you go. And you can take over.
All right. And I should be this one right here. Start here. There's Mike. And we were going to start with a little bit of a stellarium first. So can you see my stellarium screen there?
We can, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so so we're talking about, of course, Cassiopeia tonight, and Cassiopeia, of course, is that nice M shape or W shape, depending on the time of night that it is. And in and around Cassiopeia, of course, there's all kinds of nebulosity. It's one of those constellations that are right in the heart of the Milky Way, and throughout that whole Milky Way, from the north to the south, there are just so many amazing targets to look at. One of my favorite, when I first started doing this astronomy, probably about 6 years ago now, I used to have a couple of the astronomers come out, and we would observe in our backyard. And I remember the first time I took a camera, it was a DSLR, just like what Mike's using on his rig tonight. And they said, you should take a picture of something right in around Cassiopeia. He says, it's called the Heart and the Soul Nebula. And I said, really? He said, yeah. So I took this picture, this long exposure. It turned out like a mess, but you could see red in it, and that was it. Like, that was that was it. It was like, yes, I got nebulosity. I felt like Tom Hanks on the Castaway. Anyway, so if you look at the way that Cassiopeia is shaped, there's a very, very high peak, and then it goes down to a lower section. And if you look just up to the right of that, and I'm zooming in a little bit now, you can see those.
Yeah, get you to pause just for a second, Paul. So we're going to check my OBS settings here and just see if I can turn up my mic on that. That might be better.
Okay.
There, I turned the mic up quite a bit, so I'm just going to see if that makes any improvement. I'm going to take it back out of the way, and back of your screen.
Okay.
We'll see if that improves anything for people out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Carry on.
Okay, so so there basically sits the Heart and the Soul Nebula, and you know they're duly named. The Heart, of course, shaped certainly like a heart, and also the Soul Nebula is shaped like a little baby, and I think that's where it gets its name from. But the nebula I want to talk about here today is the Heart Nebula, and in the Heart Nebula there's a couple of pretty cool features. One's called the fish head, which is this little section right here, and again, this is an emission nebula, so there's all kinds of hydrogen alpha gas out there on this particular target. And if you're going to image this, it's best to have, if you're going to use a DSLR like Mike's, to have it modified so that you're sensitive to the red nebulosity. Or if you're using a dedicated astronomy camera, it's already going to be that way. And then there's filters again that you can put over top of that as well to bring up more of this red gas. But what I want to show you first of all is a photograph that I took a few weeks ago now. And it's called, whoops, that's not the one.
Cool photograph.
There it is, right there. See if I can get that stretched over. There we go. Can you see that photograph there?
Yeah, see it.
Okay, so that there is right in the heart of the Heart Nebula, and that's called Melotte 15. And Melotte 15 is this section right here. And you can see that it's a very, very active stellar nursery. And basically, the brightest part of the nebula itself is separated, classified as NGC 896, because it was the first part of the nebula that was actually discovered. The nebula's intense red output and its morphology are driven by the radiation emanating from the small group of stars near the nebula center, which is right in here. And this open cluster of stars known as Melotte 15 contains a few bright stars nearly 50 times the mass of our sun, and many more dim stars that are only fractional of the sun's mass, but right within here. And it's a very, very interesting looking portion of the nebula. It's one of those ones that you can shoot it in the center like this one, or you can shoot it out the other end. And there's one other photograph I'll show you of this same nebula. I'm going to see if I can find it here for you. Oh, sorry, let me just get that out of the way. And bear with me just a moment. There we go. And I always just like, I pretend to be like Ernie and Bert, and I go, "You're fishy, 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 fishy." I'm looking for the fish head nebula. And by Gippy, I've got it. So this is the fish head. So this is the other end of the heart that I was showing you in the beginning. So you can see there that it's again, it's a lot of nebulosity. It gets its name basically because it's got the shape of looks like a big tuna fish to me. And but again, all kinds of absolutely wonderful nebulosity in and about there. And again, because it's in the center of the Milky Way, you're getting a very, very rich star field. Right down the very bottom of the fish's tail, down this end, you can see a really nice star cluster going on right in here. And if you're able to blow it up, you can actually see in some cases some galaxies in and throughout there and in behind. So those are the two things that I want to show from the Heart Nebula, which of course lies in Cassiopeia.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right. I'll just shake that down, and I'll bring that. And that, and there, and we're back to the screen. And then whoever wants to take over.
I think we should maybe get you swung over to another target. Have you got anything else you can offer there, Paul? Or?
I'm going to have to step outside and do some configuring before I get on another target here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I can actually do a couple of things here while Mike's doing that.
Okay, that'd be great.
So, as we know, Christmas has just passed, and even us people who get a little long in the tooth are still like children at Christmas time. So I don't know. Can I get my screen up there, Chris? I see Mike's now.
I think you share your screen, you should be okay.
Okay. Screen sharing options. There we go. No, I am actually. And I wonder how I think you would have to do that for me to get my picture bigger, I think. Let me just see. Okay, I'm not sure what you're seeing.
I'm seeing Mike's chair.
Oh. All right. I don't. No.
I see you with your mouse there saying stop sharing. So.
Yeah, I'm going to do that for a second, and maybe I'll start again. See if that'll help. Because I think that's your screen, actually. Screen. And I just want to share my camera, so I think you'd have to put me on, I think.
Share my screen, but
Start here. Yeah, okay. Well, I can't really get myself up large enough so you can see me. That's something I think you have to do. Oh, there we go. There we go.
I got you on there now. Okay, yeah.
Okay, you can see me there now?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Great. Okay, so I've got a few magazines, and I've a few of the courses that we've done over the last little while. I've always talked about some magazines that I use to get things going for me astronomy-wise, and the best magazines I've ever found that are more consistent with a ton of information are the Sky at Night magazines. So my wife very generously bought me a subscription to Sky at Night, which I have right here, and I got my first one.
Oh boy!
And it is, I got to tell you, these magazines are the photography in them is absolutely amazing. I don't mean the astrophotography. I mean just basically the way they lay the magazines out. The articles are amazing. There's everything for everybody in here. Everything from talking about all the things that are going on in the current astronomy world. Gets into some sections on equipment. There's a section actually in this magazine here, which they did on Buzz Aldrin, and very, very, very good story on him in there. For those budding astrophotographers, every one of these magazines has an excellent section in there on tips on using PixInsight and all those other very nice software packages that are available for people. And also, for a bonus for getting that, I got this year's Astronomy's Yearbook again, and this is amazing. So this takes you right through from January right through till to December in the year 2020 of all the things that are coming up and all the things that you're going to want to see, all the main astronomical events that are on the way. And it's just chock full of star charts. It's the information's amazing. It takes you, like I say, right through month. You can see June, August, right on up through, and each one of them has a star chart, and each one of the months shows, the most well-placed targets in the sky that you can observe or photograph, whatever it is that you want to do. So again, you can get this at any one of the chapters bookstores, or you can order them, but it does come from England,
Yeah.
because it is the BBC magazine, and they go through how do you say it, a booker, if you will, a broker, to get them over here. So it's a bit of a hassle to get things set up, but once you get them set up, they deliver them up and whatnot. So again, I can't speak enough about BBC stuff. If you want to check it out, just go to Amazon or Indigo Chapters, and you can go right in their magazine section and just buy a couple of copies, go through them, and if you really like them, you can sort of order them up. But anyway, I got these for Christmas, so I'm happy as a clam.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
there's one other. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, they're saying I'm really faint again, and I'm not 100% on my mic, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Go back to that. Okay.
All right. And can you okay,
Yeah,
and there's
good.
one other one that I've got, And for those people who want to learn a little bit about astrophotography, this one here is called Teach Yourself Astrophotography. And this one covers everything from the beginnings in terms of what you would need if you just want to do Milky Way shots, that kind of stuff. And then it gets into equipment that you'll need. And then it talks about choosing, certain, if you want to get into the deep sky. It certainly covers planetary, so if you want to do moon shots. So these are one of the books that I started with years and years ago. And I just kept it, and I just kept going through each chapter and got really good with the chapters, and then I move on to the second. So it's probably one of the best reference books you'll ever get. And it's just chock full of everything you'll ever want to know. Very, very thick.
Nice.
And all that kind of stuff. So again, another absolutely great book that I'll certainly be spending some time with there.
Sounds great. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions here. Well, Dave was asking, what's the most spectacular astronomy-related thing to see in 2020? Wow.
Well.
Most spectacular.
Well.
That's a tough one.
Let's see what BBC says.
There we go. Got you on the spot. I know that on June the 10th of 2021, we'll have partial solar eclipse over St. John, actually. It's going to be about another 80% or so. So that is coming, but that's in 2021. We've got a couple of lunar eclipses, I think, next year. Of course, that solar eclipse is leading up to the 2024 April the 8th eclipse that will pass right over New Brunswick. And we'll have totality up and around. The second one in the flight, that'll be great. Thanks, Neil. I guess I'll be getting a headset like Paul has there for next week. Still having some mic issues here. But anyway, back to what the most spectacular things might be next year. There's probably a number of conjunctions coming up next year. We just had a nice Moon and Venus conjunction this past, last night actually. Moon and Venus. We've got a couple of Jupiter-Venus conjunctions as well on Saturn. So I'm not sure. I think Dave, you might have asked a question. We haven't really looked ahead to see what is the most spectacular event coming up in 2020.
There's Dave's. Was that Dave McCashin?
Dave McCashin.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dave's a comet fan, and he may already know this or maybe not know this, but between January the 26th and 31st, the comet Pan-STARRS, T2 Pan-STARRS, is going to be near the double cluster. So that'll be a nice thing to catch, because I know Dave likes to photograph comets. And Mars, Antares, and the crescent moon are all going to be in the morning star in morning sky rather, and on January the 20th.
Nice.
And let me see what else we got. The Quantrid meteor showers peak on January the 4th, so that's just next week. And then, of course, on the 10th is penumbral lunar eclipse. So there's quite a few things coming up in January. And actually, there's quite a few things coming up all year long.
There you go, Dave.
Right there, Dave.
Get yourself a book, Dave. Well worth the purchase.
It's hard to keep up on all the different events, because there's so many that go on.
It is, yeah.
And whatnot. So
I don't know of any the huge special events coming up in 2020. 2021, I would say the solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse, is probably the biggest thing that's going to happen. And you can go to a website called timingdate.com and punch in there, and it'll show you the next eclipses that are going to be coming up in your area. So that's where I usually go to find out what's coming up next. So there is a penumbral lunar eclipse coming up in January. And that penumbral one just means that it's just going to take, you're going to see a very faint shadowing on the moon, only on a small corner of the moon. You won't see it all the way around it or anything like that. So it's not going to be a total lunar eclipse. It's just a penumbral, so it's just going to pass through a small part of Earth's shadow, not a thicker part of Earth's shadow. So, but if you can, it's very hard to pick up anyway, because it's at a full moon when it's happening. And the moon is so bright, so you'd have to be watching for this small piece of it. They're very difficult to pick up. The only ones that are really noticeable, I guess, that I've seen anywhere, are totally. We
back into having technical difficulties.
Oh boy. Boy, this has been a fun evening. This is the problem with going live. Maybe we'll have to record a show in the future and then put it up so that we know everything's working.
Well, at least the clouds moved off.
There, yeah.
Oh, I see. Daniel's got the BBC book too. Yeah, you're gonna love it, Dan, if you haven't already looked through it.
So you're climbing up where you are, Paul, or?
Well, it's not so much clouds. My situation tonight is it's gotten hot and cold, and my transmission from my observatory to inside the house hasn't been good. So a lot of what I'm trying to show is posterized.
Right.
In other words, the images wouldn't be very clear. Yeah.
Running into the same effect.
Yeah. The transparency isn't good.
Yeah, but it's more of the transmission between the computer from outside to inside, really. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. But
I can quickly try to show you. It's not a great shot, but the pinwheel here.
Sure, that'd be great.
Let me throw this up. You see the cluster there?
Yes, we do.
M36.
That's M36. Messier 36.
It's not coming in as sharp as I want it to. There should be more stars coming through, but
you can see it though. It's no question. It's the cluster. Thanks, Emil.
So that's an open cluster, right?
Yes.
That's the idea of these ones. That one's actually in a rider, right?
Yes.
And of course, an open cluster is just a collection of stars that are all bound together by gravity, but they're loosely bound together, so they're not in a big tight ball as it would be in a globular cluster. So M36, M37, and M38 are all great targets up in that area. Take a look at.
I'm just going to clear here and bring it back up. It takes 30 seconds here. Bear with me.
Yeah, no trouble.
Technical difficulties.
That's what happens when you're live.
A second or two more, and I should get a picture here.
Maybe get 45 up there.
There we go. I'll start to bring it up a little bit. And stretch this down. So maybe as it stacks, more stars will start to come into view. I'm taking 30-second exposures here. So
it says what we're looking at, located a little more than 4,000 light years away from the solar system. This group of about 60 stars spans across about 14 light years of space. As you are studying it, you'll notice one star which seems brighter than the rest. For the reason it's a spectral type B2 star, and it's about 360 times more luminous than our sun. And actually means that about 25 million years ago, Messier 36 shares a lot in common with another nearby star cluster, the Pleiades. By taking a deep look at young clusters with stars of varying ages, astronomers are able to find out how long certain stellar disks may last, giving us a clue as to whether or not planet-forming stars may fall within.
that cluster is about 10 times further away than the Pleiades cluster is.
So is this one inside Roger, Mike? Or
Yeah,
is it outside?
It's inside, just not far from, say, one of the border edges.
Okay.
M36 and 38 are inside, and 37 I think is just outside.
Okay.
So David Cashin says the moon eclipses Mars on February the 18th, so that'll be something to watch for. Thanks, Dave. Keep an eye for that.
They say in dark sky that this is a naked eye visible. I can't say as I've seen it. There might be a smudge there when I look up, but they say it is in dark skies a naked eye cluster. There's a
Probably
little more starting to come out.
I was going to say probably 20-year-old eyes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not 60.
Yeah. That happens to all of us, yeah, unfortunately. But
Indeed.
when we get to the point when we can afford telescopes, we can't see through the eyepieces.
Put my trifocals back on.
There you go. Yeah. Pays to have a nice big widescreen TV, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's now stacked 6 times. I think it's starting to bring out some fainter stuff in there. There's about 60 stars in the cluster.
Yeah, 60 stars.
And it's one of the Messier's fainter objects, it says, but then they tell you it's visible to the naked eye. So I have a hard time seeing a ring now to the naked eye, so maybe that's pretty faint.
Emil writes he's seen it naked eye, and it was at a star party.
Okay. Wonder which one.
I'm not sure, but probably Kush, I would think. We were up there a couple of years ago, and it was just unbelievable how clear that sky was. We just the perfect conditions. So I'm assuming probably somewhere in and around there. If not there, probably Mount Carlton, one of the two.
We're very fortunate here in New Brunswick to have as many dark sky designated parks as we do. It's Quebec and Mount Carlton and Fundy National Park, all being right on the top of the list there. And the skies are impressive at all 3 sites, for sure. I mean, in places like Toronto and stuff, have to travel a little distance, I guess, to get a dark sky. But we have only short distance to get to.
Yeah.
Our star party events are really proving the fact that people enjoy the night sky as well with us.
Yeah, there's a lot of people turning out to those, which is really, really nice. Yeah, Emil writes either Kush or Mount Carlton, yeah. And I assumed it would have been one of those two. The other thing that we did see that I didn't see, actually Emil pointed out to me at the last Kush outing, was the fact that when you're looking at skies that are really, really dark like that, how you can tell that if they're getting into a Bortle 1 sky is when the clouds don't appear to be lighter than the background anymore. They actually appear to be black. And it's simply because there is no reflection from Earth's surface going up to light up the cloud. So that's when you know that you're really in a very, very non-light polluted area. And we saw that up at Mount Carlton, and he said, "Look at that." He said, "That's not a hole in the sky. Those are black clouds."
Yeah, black clouds.
Yeah, and you don't see those in and around any urban area at all. You have to go to a really dark sky site to see that. But when you do see that, you know you're in for a great night for observing.
The other thing I think.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I looked at the dark sky or clear sky chart there tonight, and it said that there'd be the clouds would move off, the seeing in transparency would be terrible.
Yeah.
And I definitely here in the city probably am getting some light haze off any vapor that's up in the sky, so that could be washing out some of this shot as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we deal with a lot, especially here along the Maritimes. I mean, we've got a lot of weather conditions. We have a big storm, I guess, on its way here in a couple of days with 15 to 30 centimeters predicted. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy. That's actually happening New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Might be a lonely night at home with some popcorn and some movies.
Good
I was hoping it'd be more rain than snow.
There, yeah. I don't think we're gonna. I think we're gonna get the snow, and then maybe change to rain later on for us in southern Brunswick. Anyway. Paul was mentioning there about the dark clouds. The one thing that I kind of noticed that was really kind of neat too was taking your hand and passing it out over a chair or over a table, a camp table or whatever, and looking at a shadow, like a very faint shadow from your hand, or whatever, and then looking up and realizing it's just the Milky Way that's casting your shadow on the ground. So there's no moon or anything up on these nights usually when we're doing the star party events. We we try to arrange them around the night when we don't have much of a moon, so we get to see a lot of the sky objects. But you actually hold your hand out over a table and to look and see a faint shadow. And Neil revealed it the first time when we were up on Mount Carlton. It was amazing treat to see that. So that's always a pleasure. And you'll know that you're in a really dark sky when you look and you see you hold your hand out and you see a faint shadow underneath it. It's just the light from the Milky Way casting a shadow. Always Disneyland to us.
Yeah.
On one of those nights.
Yeah, Emil mentions here that he said the clouds of Mount Carlton look like holes in the sky.
Yeah, they were quite amazing.
Oh, yeah, it was unbelievable.
That's coming up on our hour.
It is coming up on our hour. Yeah, we're at 49, I guess, right now. Any other questions out there? If you'd like to shout out or any comments along the way, we're happy to. That's why we do these things live. We know that we have a lot of glitches. But trying to keep it live so that we can be interactive with whoever's out there with us.
Kind of like
the whole
Carol
amateur
Burnett.
part of it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of like the Carol Burnett show.
Yeah, kind of. And that always worked out well, so.
Okay, Tim.
Yeah.
I do have a photograph I can show. Well, is that still stacking, Mike? That one?
Oh yeah, I can unshare and you can throw something up there.
Yeah, I just want to show you a photograph
Here we go.
that I was able to get there the other night. Let me see if I can get it to work for me now. And I'll share there, share, and
Oh, wow. So somebody mentioned here they cannot hear this person. We're going to be dealing with this, and we started with that next go around, next live feed. So I assume it's me because it seems to be me that's been having the trouble with it all night. So anyway.
yeah. Oops. Well, for some reason I got Mike's.
Well, I'll get your picture up.
Yeah, I can't see it. Anyway, what it was a picture of. What are you seeing, Chris?
I'm seeing your picture of the moon, the crescent moon, and Venus.
Oh, good, great.
Around there.
Okay, I'll put it back to where it was. Obviously, I'm on the other screen. Yeah, so yeah, I got this last night. I was coming home. I can't remember from where, but and I saw that really nice sky. Mike and I talk a lot about that. The night, the part of the night sky before it turns dark, you get this really nice cast of blue to almost like an orange to a yellowish horizon as the sun sinks. And I saw the moon with the earth shine and Venus just like that. And I thought, oh, I got to go home because it was totally clear. But I got home. By the time I got home, it started clouding out, of course. Mm-hmm. And but in any event, I waited. I bet you it was 20 minutes looking for this sucker hole so I could get a picture of it. And that's what you're seeing there, are the clouds that are just kind of opened up enough that I was able to capture both the moon and Venus in that shot. So, yeah, so it was just like, yes, it was worth it. So.
And that view of Earth shine there too, which is of course the sunlight that's shining on reflecting on the Earth and then back onto the moon again. That's why you can see the complete disk of the moon. Whereas we get the really bright part that the sun is shining directly on the moon, of course, but we only get this over the first few days, really, of the phase of this crescent. So tonight actually was supposed to have the crescent moon up beside Venus. So the moon would have risen about an hour later tonight. So and Venus would have been in roughly the same spot. So the moon would have appeared to the left of Venus if you were out there tonight. Unfortunately, our skies were too cloudy, but we couldn't pick it up here. So. But yeah, we'll keep watching it for this over the next week or so, and Venus is going to continue to be in our sky now right up till about April of next year. It's climbing in its orbit around the sun, and this is the path of the ecliptic. So when we get into our winter sky, the ecliptic is actually, that's a path that the planets and the sun seem to take across the sky, and the moon. In the wintertime sky, of course, they're very low. The sun is very low, so the ecliptic line is low. So in the daytime sky, it's low, but in the evening sky, it's usually quite high like this. So Venus, the sun is the brightest object, of course. Then we have Venus and the moon. So the moon is the second brightest, and then Venus is the third brightest. So get the second, third brightest objects in the sky for the next week or so. And Venus, of course, will be up there. It's what we call our evening star, so it'll be around. It'll be hanging around here for quite a while yet. It hasn't got as high as it's going to get yet, for sure. So, always going to be nice.
All right, I'm going to.
Go ahead.
I'll stop sharing there and then back to. I'm not sure what when I press that button, but.
Back to the three of us.
There you go.
There, thanks, Paul. That was a great capture.
Thanks.
So yeah, for the week coming up now, we've got a couple of planets up in our morning sky. We've got Venus up high in our western sky, so we're going to have that view of Venus for a while to come. Again, next month, as the moon makes its circle around again, you'll see another conjunction coming up next month, and the following month again after that, where Venus is going to continue to be high, and the moon will be fairly close, but not quite as close as it was last night here. We were only about a couple of degrees apart last night. We have a couple of planets coming up in the morning sky. Mars is still up in the morning sky. Mercury is getting a fair amount lower right now, so it's starting to disappear. Jupiter is really behind the sun right now, and Saturn is dipping down in our western sky, almost disappeared behind the sun as well from our point of view. So what's going to happen to those two is that in another month they're going to appear in our morning sky. So we'll have Jupiter and Saturn and Mars in the morning sky. And probably by the end of the month, when we have our waning crescent moon in the sky, that'll make another nice photo opportunity with the crescent moon, Jupiter and Saturn, and Mars in the sky. So folks, that's probably going to be what we're going to give you for tonight. We apologize again for the audio issues. I expect that we'll be flipping over to game headsets like Paul has here by next week for sure. So I want to thank Paul and Mike for both coming back on again to join us again tonight. We've had I guess this is our 7th show now, and out of the 7 shows, we've only had one clear night. So. It's been a bit difficult. Ta-da! Yeah, it's been a bit difficult. Here we are. Maybe we should have called it the Saturday night astronomy show, because almost every Saturday night it's been clear, and every Sunday night it's been cloudy.
How true.
So,
How true.
What we may end up doing is trying to record a show. Peter's asking a question: are those ham radios behind you, Mike? Also love the Imperial Stormtrooper. Keeping an eye on you.
My wife thinks they were all bought for $50.
Yeah. The whole package. Great deal.
Everything.
Great deal. So yeah, we're going to improve things again for next week. Again, this has only been our second. We had one really good clear night, I guess, the first night, and then it just kind of clouded in for us ever since. So we're really hoping for a clear night. We might end up with trying to record a program and putting it up on a Sunday night if this continues throughout the next few weeks or so. But we're just happy to come be alive anyway to sit and chat and bring a few things that we can do. So folks, again tonight that's our show. That's the wrap up for this week. I'll try to post something up for what we're going to have for next week's sky. We'll probably peek up around Cassiopeia again, and because there's still a whole lot of targets up in that area, and I'm sure we're not going to run out of winter targets at all. We've got a whole lot to offer here between now and probably sometime in April, when the skies get too bright that we can't offer even 8 o'clock. But we'll be back to you again soon for sure. We hope that you all have a very pleasant week. From Paul Owen and Mike Powell and myself, thanks so much for joining on, folks. And we wish you all very clear skies. Talk to
And
you
a
all
Happy
again
New
soon.
Year.
And a Happy New Year. That's right.
Happy
Thanks.
New Year.
Thanks so much, guys.
Good night.
Good night.